Do you ever get that feeling that someone or something is behind you, watching you and just staring you down from the shadows? But the moment you turn around, it's like the thought of it just fades away? Yeah, me neither. It's almost foolish to even look back at the idea of it actually being a reality. Although I can't count the times I've thrown a right hook towards the shower curtain in hopes of actually knocking out whatever was behind it. But in all seriousness, I was thinking, what would I actually do if there was something behind me? Sometimes I like to think of all the countless and silliest interactions of the situation and just laugh or even crack a joke for that matter. But then I'd probably just hear some ambient Dark Souls music and before I know it, I'm already dead. So I really feel like it's just a game to whatever would be trying to get the most out of you. And given perspective, that's entirely what I've been pondering ever since I started reading this certain manga. A manga that gives you a point of view on that dark and treacherous feeling you so often get when something is lurking up, and that silly and outlandish take you get once it actually appears. I think without further explanation, a lot of you probably already know what series it is, and funnily enough, it's Dandadan. Another manga that has been dominating the scene as of recently and taken the world by shock by its immense amount of creativity and revolutionary way of actually making a manga. And to no surprise, but the mangaka themselves, Yukinobu Tatsu, have worked under both Tatsuki Fujimoto and Yuji Kaku, creators of both the extremely popular Chainsaw Man and Hell's Paradise. And if you're a fan of either of those series, you can tell that there is a ton of creative inspiration that came from them, and it both was just phenomenal when transferring it over to their own manga of Dandadan. But looking at the series for what it's worth, it's almost impossible to give a fair enough explanation and or a summary of the series without someone saying, what the actual fuck?
My balls are gone.
Back when the series was first being serialized, I tried getting a lot of mutuals on it, and given the reaction, it was really hard to see this manga making a long-term serialization in Shonen Jump Plus, the magazine that it's currently being published in. But as the weeks went on, the popularity of the series continued to grow, and now the manga is successfully in what is considered Jump Plus's 3 pillars of the magazine, right behind Spy Family and Kaiju number 8. So what exactly drew the attention of the readers for the series? Well, if you ask me, I think it was an amalgamation of both what I mentioned earlier on the dark tone themes, as well as the good blend of those silly interactions in the most terrifying of situations. I mean, you could also throw in some waifus here and there and some crazy ass creatures, but that's just my guess. It's not something that an ordinary person could just come up with either, and that's why I think the mix of the urban fantasy with all these supernatural events is what makes Yukinobu Tatsu's Dandadan so fascinating. It consists of whatever you can put your mind to: ghosts, monsters, aliens, those amazing shonen battle moments, as well as a romantic build that continues to climb as the series continues. It genuinely has it all, and the sky is truly the limit for what you can expect from this series. And I don't know exactly what I'm going to title this video, but it's a manga that you simply can't predict. And our main character, Ken Takakura, is a firm believer of all things galactic, including mostly importantly UFOs and outer life, but not so much anything paranormal. While our other main character, Momoyase, is a huge believer of ghosts and paranormal activity, but not so much anything to do with our outer space activity. Funnily enough, their powers come from the exact opposite of their beliefs, and it'll probably be shown on screen, but the way they get these powers is nothing in the slightest of what you would expect. So Dandadan is weird, and that's okay. The art style is a representation of a balance between both what it means to make it in the world of the manga industry and someone who is trying to be cutting edge in the system to make their own mark as someone who is seen as the odd one out. And Dandadan is portraying a serious change in shonen magazines, and you could also say a big thanks to Chainsaw Man and Fujimoto for that as well, but it's nice to see change every once in a while, and it's just that sometimes some of us are scared for what's to come, and it won't exactly be what everyone wants, and oftentimes it's just about taking that gamble and exploring your own creativity, and if that's being the most horrific and wackiest version of yourself, then I'm all here for it. And that's not to disclose the character designs. I mean, some of them are the most badass things I've seen from a character that turns from a scrawny schoolboy into one of the greatest things I've seen grasped to pen and paper. I mean, if we're to look at Devilman and Parasite, we get this type of character being presented, and it's not entirely original when it happens, but I'd say it's a good directional take for a character, and especially for a series like this one. And quite frankly, it's more of a transition, but for this series and these characters, they have a remarkability to transfer from this super cool transformation to trying to be super cool sometimes. It's a work in progress for a few of them, but you can see the growth as the series goes on, and especially when it comes down to training. In this manga, you're not just getting a character arc of leaving for some time and then just coming back the next arc ready to pummel. Instead, you get these short increments of personal areas of our characters wanting to get stronger in, whether that just being communication or pure strength, and the way they go about it is just like none other. It's again fitting to the series because it's just simply off the wall with the ideas, and unlike any other series I've read, you never know what's to come next. And it goes without saying, but the plot just tends to find itself with every arc, and I guess one of my only criticisms with that is that the series just tends to always find things that come and go with each and every arc that comes around. And I feel like if the manga were to find a directional part in the series where it came to a point where a longer arc is needed, I think that would be an amazing aspect to the manga we have yet to experience. Either way though, finding a path through every mini arc isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's just the longer arcs are usually what I tend to enjoy from the series. And be it as it is, the series still makes every arc enjoyable, don't get me wrong. I haven't really seen it as a negative thing as of yet, just something that has started to get more repetitive, I guess. But I mean, as long as I keep getting to see some of these reoccurring characters, then I'll be good. Like, when have you ever been introduced to a waifu that's clearly just someone's grandmother? And even the comedy, like I mentioned, has a toll on some people that just gets really wacky when it needs to be, because there are some pretty disturbing battles, but I guess that's just what people would call dark humor at times. Needless to say though, it's really just creating this new form of style from the shonen demographic. And honestly though, when thinking of the longevity of the series even more, it's kind of hard to predict where the mangaka wants to go with things. I mean, I mentioned this already, but I can't imagine this series being more than like 200 chapters at max. But fairly that's okay, because it's nice to see when a mangaka knows when to end their series and not really overstay their welcome just because they see a profit from the series. Knowing when to end a series is important, and I think even more so with how manga are ending nowadays, we can confidently say sometimes it's hard to end a shonen manga with how authors are pressured or asked to make more of. But for now, I can only really expect more unpredictability from the series, including new characters, forms, creatures, and pretty much the whole 9 yards. And as for arcs, hopefully a big one comes in the near future to really break through some characters in the series, but who knows. I think the only thing else to bring up is a potential anime, and it's gonna be a tricky one for sure, but I think if Chainsaw Man's limits aren't going to be tampered with, then I think Dandadan should be good right there with it. And I don't necessarily see it getting an anime till maybe 2024, but that's just if things continue to go as the way in which they are, which they probably will. Overall, the series is absolutely a wild experience, and I think if you're looking for something that's out of this world in the medium and just searching for a new manga, Dandadan is right there for the taking, with all the boxes being checked for all the right causes. And I don't see a reason to not check out this manga unless you're a little disturbed by some of the panels that might be shown. It's really just changing the game for what it means to be a shonen manga and introducing new elements that are just expanding this demographic as a whole. And it's going to just continue to rise with each and every single chapter that comes out. So again, go ahead and give Dandadan a read, because if you don't, some character from the series will find a way to take possession of you and just force you to read it anyways, so I don't think you really have a choice otherwise. But to close things out though, I do have a Twitter and Instagram, both at Augie, so go ahead and check those out, and I'll probably have another video out in the next week or so maybe, question mark. I actually don't even know myself, but probably soon. And hopefully you all enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the bell notifications to keep updated with all things anime and manga, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more, and as per usual, I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.